everybody. Welcome back to another episode of Brand Out. I'm your host, Beth Kviz, and I am here with one of my favorite people in the world, Kallee Hobohm. Kallee has been working with us for the last year as a freelancer, and I'm going to let her tell you a little bit about herself, and then we're really going to dive into this next episode.
Hello, my name is Kallee, and I have been working in the industry for over 13 years. I actually started working at my last job with Beth about 6 years ago, and then started freelancing for AZEE.
And Kallee and I had so much fun working together that I had to find a way to get her to still hang out with me every single day. Every single day might be a little bit of a stretch, but it wasn't hard to convince Tony to bring her on as a freelancer because she is so incredibly talented, and I just get to have fun with one of my best friends all the time. But today we're going to talk about brands that once marketed to men and kind of made a shift in the last few years to market to women. And with doing that, they found an abundance of success and their sales skyrocketed. A perfect example of this is Stanley.
Yeah, you feel like it was a dad's cup, right? They used the thermos. They used the dark green, the same color for a million years.
Yeah, this is a brand. Stanley was a brand that was originally made for men. So it's a brand that's been around for 110 years. They had one style, one color, and they marketed to construction workers and outdoorsmen.
And it worked for so long. But then
it didn't. So in the last few years, actually it was in 2016 when they created this new cup. And this is the cup. Kallee, show your cup. This is the cup that you see around every store right now. You see every mom, every woman running with this. And the reason for it is that this design is perfect for everyday life. It fits in your car. It has a handle that's easy to grab. Women are always holding so many things in their hands. And to be able to just like grab that while you have a child and all these
convenience.
Things, it's so convenient.
Yes.
But saying that, in 2016 when this came out, it did not take off. It wasn't, because they were still marketing it to men.
Yeah.
And because they were still marketing it to men, it was just another product that really didn't have any, it just didn't take off. And what ended up happening was a group of women in Utah got a hold of this and they loved it. They posted it on, they had a website where they kind of just suggested things to buy for women, and it took off there and everybody loved it. But it still wasn't big enough for Stanley to run with this. They even talked about taking it off the shelf. They only had about 3 colors of this, and these women actually fought for it. They were like, "This is what we need."
Heck yeah, we need to do that.
Stand up for yourself, girl. So they actually ended up taking this cup and they gave it to a woman on The Bachelorette. What's her name?
Emily Maynard.
And she put it on social media, and this thing went viral, and they sold out immediately.
And then they started doing the different colors. And it was genius because they started doing these custom colors. Target has this specific color. You start bringing in these other aspects, and women just, they need it. They want that social media clout, you know? Oh, I've got the latest Stanley. Oh, I went to Target at 4 a.m. to get this new color. I mean, the color drops are genius. The new shape, they're also, moms were getting a little irritated because the cups were leaking. You know, your toddler knocks it over, there goes all your water. Then they started doing the new lids. So the marketing that has shifted from the men to the women, granted, yes, they still have their staple pieces, but the women now have that say in what the product looks like, in the fact that now it's not they've got the spill proof lid. Those are all like huge factors for women.
Well, and what Stanley did is genius. They saw that this product was working and that women were starting to buy it because of social media, and they ran with it and they listened, and then they made those changes that you just mentioned. And those things are what skyrocketed them from 70 million a year to 750 million a year, from, I think that was from 2016 to like 2020. And I might be off on that.
But that's insane. That's insane.
And it's all because women.
Just shifting. I mean, like, how can that's amazing that they can do that.
Well, and it's also interesting because I will once again probably get the statistic wrong, but I believe it's like 70 or 80% of women hold the buying power in a home. And so it's only smart for a company to look at that and market towards women.
Especially if it's a company that has only ever marketed towards men. I mean, it was the green Stanley Cup.
And
the thermos. You know, you can picture it. I'm 99% sure that I did the wedding. It was on our wedding registry.
The original
Stanley was on our wedding registry. And now it's like I can't go anywhere without my Stanley. Like the water, it stays cold.
Well, and it's great because they made the comment that they didn't change the technology of it. They just changed the look of it in the
colors.
adding a handle, making sure that it's more functional for everyday life. But they still stayed true to, making sure it had the same materials. It was steel. It keeps your stuff cold. And that's, I think, also an important thing when you have a brand. Even though they strayed away from their one product, they still stayed true to their functionality, if that makes sense.
Absolutely. Yeah. They had a great product. The product was there. They just made a pivot in their marketing and started to get different colors and different. It changed the game for them.
The other thing I think that's really crazy and we should have a conversation about is social media influencers.
Oh my gosh.
How incredible that they can put one product out there and sell millions from one post, or one lady takes it and then 3 other people make a post and now they're selling millions.
Yeah, it's like a spider web of these influencers that have such a hold over their entire following. Yes. It's wild. It's wild.
And granted, it's a good product. And the reason it's staying around is because it's a good product.
Absolutely.
But this never would have blown up if people weren't talking about it.
No.
So I feel like this is a great time to maybe teach a little lesson. If you're somebody who has a company and you're selling a product or a service, get online. This is everything. Influencers are everything right now. Being on social media, being able to sell your product, and you're going to spread the word 3 times faster than just by talking to your neighbor. Social media is everything right now.
They're the new salesperson. If you think about it,
they are a sales.
They're their salesperson. That's exactly what they're doing. They're just doing it in a totally different way. It's wild. So if you're not pulling in those influencers who are your new salespeople, you're missing out big time.
Okay, so another brand that actually did that was New Balance. So when you think New Balance,
the dad shoe,
the ultimate dad shoe.
It is.
Dude, my dad is a farmer and he either wears work boots or New Balances.
Yes.
There's no in between.
100%. Yeah.
And it's just this plain white tennis shoe that is meant for comfort. And that's what they've been known for.
Yep.
Forever.
Comfort over everything. That's what they do.
I actually want to take a step back and I want to talk about how over the last few years, the influence of sneakers in general, because I think this helps lead to how New Balance kind of got its restart.
I agree.
So the sneaker at one point was just for athletes and runners and people who were on the big screen, and they didn't
dads.
And dads. Of course, and dads.
But then there was the shift.
And in the last few years, sneakers have found their way into every outfit.
Everything.
People are wearing them to work with their nice clothes.
To prom.
Their wedding days.
Yeah, seriously.
And at one point, like when we were in college and in high school, I would say just basically growing up.
You're going out.
We wore heels everywhere.
Everywhere. It was the heel made you feel comfortable and confident, right?
Like I'm a woman.
And I am a woman. And now it's like girls today are that confident and that comfortable in a tennis shoe. And it's amazing. I mean, I'm getting ready for today's podcast and I threw on a heel and nobody's even going to see my feet, but I wanted to feel confident.
Yes.
And so like the fact that they do that now with tennis shoes, bringing in New Balance, is amazing.
I love to see it though.
Me
this
too.
casual look has been, I love it because I get to be more casual every single day at work as well.
Yeah.
But like you said, there was this cultural shift. And I think a big part of that too is 90s nostalgia.
Oh yeah.
This whole trend of being nostalgic and wearing old school clothes kind of came back as well.
Absolutely.
So they kind of go hand in hand.
Mm-hmm.
But the thing about it is New Balance has been around forever.
Yes.
They've been a comfortable shoe. They've been a reliable shoe, but they kind of lost their traction when Nike came into the arena in the 70s and 80s. They started promoting with athletes and they took off. Obviously, we all know Nike as the brand it is today, super successful. And That's because they really leaned into the influencer situation. This is before social media even. They were really utilizing NBA athletes, and that's kind of where they started and how they took off. Where New Balance never really got into the influencer.
No, they didn't promote it.
No.
The promoting was for the dad shoe.
Yes.
Legitimately. That was the only thing that they had. The dads in the comfort.
The comfort. When you're a parent, you're not trying to run around and chase your kids without being comfortable.
Yeah.
The style goes away and the comfort comes in.
Absolutely.
And so New Balance, I mean, this is a personal opinion. I still don't even think they're that attractive of a shoe. They just became popular.
Very popular.
So the big shift for them was when Balenciaga, they actually introduced a chunky shoe. And it looked similar to New Balance. The issue is Balenciaga is a super expensive brand. And so the everyday person couldn't purchase it.
Yeah.
And New Balance being a cheaper brand, but a similar style, people kind of started taking a liking to it.
Mm-hmm.
I also noticed that a bunch of celebrities started wearing them. And then you have, once again, your influencers on social media.
Yeah. Well, and they did the socks, right? They had the taller socks. They went with the chunky shoe. They had this whole thing. And it was all, yes, that nostalgic look of the 90s. The 80s, the 90s, you know, and they brought in, New Balance did bring in some more colors, definitely more tasteful. So you could wear it with more outfits, I feel like. But it blew up again. And it was not for the dads. It was for the influencers and the moms and the women.
Well, one of my girlfriends, one day she shows up and she's wearing New Balance shoes. And I literally thought it was a joke. I looked at these and I was like, are these cool? I am not cool, by the way. I have no style whatsoever. So me talking about style is really besides the point. But like I buy the cheapest shoe and I'll wear it for 5 years. I'm not really the best person to maybe weigh in on this. But she walks in with these New Balance shoes and I was like, my dad has those shoes.
Same exact pair.
And she was like, I know, like that's kind of the point too.
Yeah.
And she's like, aren't they so cute? She's like, I was so hesitant to get them, but now I got them. I love them. She's like, they truly are comfortable and they're cool. And it just cracks me up because I don't know if I can ever get on this train.
I don't know if I can either.
But I see them and I am slowly becoming influenced.
Yeah.
I see them, I'm like, they are kind of cute. Like they're getting cuter in my mind than I thought like a year ago.
But also the white socks. Where did that come from? That kind of plays into the shoe. And I feel like it creates this whole look of new comfort and it's trendy.
I know.
And we're being influenced. All of them.
Every day.
Every
all
day.
day long. Every time you get on your social media, you are being influenced and you don't even realize it.
I know.
It's kind of like when you have this ad that pops up and you're like, oh, that's cool. And then you're like, I don't need it. Never mind. And then a few days later, it pops up again. And you're like, oh, maybe I do need it.
Yeah.
And then it takes a couple times of you seeing it. And all of a sudden you're like, oh my God, I've got to go buy this right now.
Yeah.
And that's kind of how social media works. It's top of mind. You see this thing and you're like, okay, I think I like it, but I'm not totally sold yet. But the more you see it, you're tricking your brain into loving this.
Yeah.
And that's how a lot of products are sold these days.
Yeah. And that's what and going back to the influencers, that's what they're all doing. They're all on that same product. They all have the Stanleys. They all have the New Balances. And we keep seeing them every single day.
Yeah. Well, and New Balance, so one of the things that they did, they never had an endorsement. They had one guy in the NBA, I think in like the 70s, and they never did it again. In the last few years, they really kind of, I think they accepted their fate that this is how you're going to sell stuff.
Yeah.
And they ended up endorsing a few other athletes and they had a few celebrities wearing them. Once again, they reached out to influencers. And those are the things that you have to do to stay successful in today's day and age.
Yeah. And they pivoted, right? They're not only marketing towards the dads anymore, it's also the women. And so, yeah, I think that they have realized that shift is here. And they need to jump on it, and we're here, and we're all being influenced by them.
Well, and it's like they've always had men and women's shoes, but if you look at their advertisements, they were really geared towards men. In the beginning.
They've always had men and women, but it's just changing now.
Yeah,
they're really pushing towards the sales for women and or buying for their husbands, right?
Yeah.
So like they know who has the buying power.
Well, and it's crazy because there's a lot of other brands who have done this. A perfect example of this, I always crack up. I remember learning this in college. It was a razor company that used to go towards men, needed to sell more product. So they started advertising to women. and it worked.
Yeah.
And so they shifted their focus to advertising to women, and they made a razor that was pink and a little bit girlier. And they started advertising to like your cleanest self and walk with your shorts and all of these things, and advertise to women.
Yeah.
And oh, lo and behold, it works. Women like to buy things.
Yes. Harley Davidson did it. They originally, obviously, only were marketing towards men, and they had a big shift. Now they have women-specific parties and all of the garments that they sell.
Clothing.
Tons of clothing. That's a huge part of Harley Davidson. But the marketing has also shifted for them.
100%.
So tons of brands are doing it. It's just now brands are seeing how much it can actually affect the bottom line.
Well, you're opening your market. So if you have just men, your demographic is small.
Yeah.
You open it to women. Oh my God, look at all of these opportunities.
Yes.
One that I always find really funny is Old Spice.
Oh yeah.
Their product is still for men, but they did a genius thing where they started going and advertising to the woman, like, hey, your man needs this.
Yeah.
And it's so funny because like I believe in the beginning they had their stuff and it was going just for men, like, hey, you need this.
Yeah.
But when you start bringing a woman in and you're like, hey, buy this for your husband.
Yep.
Buy this for your boyfriend. They need this because you need this.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, ding, ding, ding. It's a marketing genius.
Yeah.
Now you're appealing to both sides. A man sees that and they're like, oh my God, a woman wants me if I have this.
Yes.
And a woman sees that and they're like, well, I want my man to smell good.
Absolutely.
It's a twofold.
Yes. You're no, like you said, you're no longer only marketing towards half of the world.
Yes.
You're marketing to everybody.
And like we said a million times, you have a platform like social media, you have TikTok, you have Facebook, Instagram. All of these are allowing your product to reach millions of people with one post.
Yeah.
We're not passing newspapers out anymore, people.
Nope. And you think about it, you've got several influencers. You give it to 3 or whatever. You get it 4 on board. That's at least 4 million people. Every single one of these influencers now, they've got 1 million plus people. That's a lot of people seeing your product.
We need to become influencers. What are we doing?
What are we doing? This is ridiculous.
Basically, to sum it all up, if you're not marketing to women, well, maybe you should, because your sales might skyrocket if you do. One thing that we want to do before we go is play a little game.
Okay.
And I'm just gonna list some brands off, and you're just gonna tell me if it's hot or not.
Okay.
All right, number 1, Lululemon.
Hot.
Stanley.
Hot.
Naturally, right?
Naturally. Obviously.
If
That's
you
what
said-
this
if
whole
you said
thing is
not
about.
hot, we're gonna have to redo this whole entire podcast. Okay, Skims.
Hot. I wish it wasn't so expensive, but it's super
It's
hot.
a good product, isn't it?
Oh my gosh, it's wonderful.
Okay, Apple.
Hot. Great product. I mean, that's what everybody uses.
Okay, fine. Android.
Not.
I know, so not.
So not.
I have like one friend who loves her Android.
No.
You know
Said
who
nobody-
you are if you watch this.
Said nobody
Ruins
ever.
Every single message.
Oh my gosh. You're in a group chat and then all of a sudden you have that one person who has an Android and it's not like the blue bubbles anymore. It's like, okay, please, everybody stop. Who has the Android in here and why are we getting the green bubbles? And the so-and-so likes the comment. Like, right?
So AKA Android is not. Okay, Yeti.
Hot.
Carhartt.
Hot. And Carhartt started marketing a little bit more towards women.
That's a good example.
Yes. Just
Look at
just
you.
putting it out there. I got my hot pink Carhartt.
Okay, North Face.
Ugh.
I know.
I still feel like North Face is hot, but it's definitely like fizzling out.
I
Like
agree.
a lot.
Okay, so in line with that, Patagonia.
Hot. I'm sorry, Beth. What is Patagonia?
Side note, fun fact, I didn't know what Patagonia was till like 3 years ago. And everybody at my last office figured this out and just couldn't even believe it. And they ended up buying me a Patagonia sweatshirt. So I now own one and I know what it is.
Big deal. Very big deal.
Okay, Birkenstock.
Hot.
I can't.
You can't what?
Birkenstock is one of those brands that I do have a pair. Also, they bought me at work, my last job, because didn't have them. Wasn't really on that trend.
But
They're
always
just-
wanted
They're
them.
truly just not that attractive to me. They're not cool.
Yeah. I've never had a pair. I doubt I'll ever have a pair. I also don't think that my foot is the right foot for a Birk. I don't know.
Okay, let's do a couple more here, and then we can wrap this up.
Okay.
Rare Beauty. You ever use any of those? Do you even know what that is?
Rare Beauty is hot. I obviously am not because I don't use it, but it is I see it a ton like on my influencer pages.
Yes.
You know, people I follow, a lot of them use Rare Beauty.
I just bought it. I haven't used it yet.
Okay, well, let me know what you think.
Here's one other side note that's real fun. Kallee and I are not cool.
At all.
We don't do, even though it's the two of us, we're talking about all these brands. We like to talk about brands, but we're not people who really wear a lot of brands because of what it is.
Well, I feel like we're not ones typically to jump on the bandwagon. But
good point.
But if there's a product that we feel like is really, really going to benefit us, we do.
Yeah.
Like that. That's who we are. Like, so I am a mom. I need things that are convenient. A Stanley is convenient for me. And also my husband put it in my stocking. But
fair point.
That's besides the point.
But then you fell in love with it.
But then I fell in love with it, you know? And I'm also not one to buy things for myself. So if I do want something and I see it, then maybe I'm like, hey, I thought maybe you could get me this.
That's a good point.
Definitely not trendy though, for sure.
So if you want to hear Kallee and I continue to yap, because that's what we will continue to do if I don't stop this, let us know in the comments. Should we start a podcast? Do you want to hear us yap? Because we're really, really good at it. Thank you for listening to this episode of Brand Out. If you liked it, please like and subscribe and do all the things to share so we can keep this going. We love to have you here, and we're excited to talk about the next brand. Also, if you are somebody who has a product, think twice about marketing to women. It might do you good. If you enjoyed this content, make sure to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you never miss an episode. We want to connect with you. Drop a comment, share your thoughts, and let us know what brands you want us to break down next. Follow us on social media for more branding insights, and remember, keep building, keep branding, and always brand out.